As you all know, if you've listened to my podcast these last few months, I'm really excited about the direction that dental software is going. And one of the things that's happening is we're finally able to really develop customized processes for our group practice or DSO. We're able to start using the software to define how our workflows and processes will be and the steps associated with those. So I'm very excited today to actually welcome back the Director of Product Management at Henry Schein One, Adam McDaniel. Thanks a lot, Adam,
Hi.
for being on my podcast.
Oh, absolutely. Glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
So, Adam, you and I have had so many interesting conversations over the last few years about where things are going. And just a little while ago, we had a conversation about the idea about how, let's call it software enhanced workflows, how the software itself kind of is going to help a group practice or DSO run its operations, clinical areas, financial areas. And so, can you kind of talk a little bit of 10,000 foot view of what we're talking about when we talk about software enhanced workflows?
Yeah, I think, as the dental software companies like ours continue to enhance the software, one of the things that we're realizing more and more as we build features and as we look at what areas of the software to improve, we say, okay, what are the specific workflows that we're trying to have the user accomplish? So are they trying to complete a treatment plan or send out a billing statement, or are they trying to process an insurance check? And when we think about those workflows, we think about what are the steps that you're going through to finish or process or go through that workflow. What are the pieces that you're doing? You're doing, you're in the real world, like if we said, if this was all manual and we were processing an insurance check, we would open the insurance check, review the EOB, make sure that it matches what we expected, write the amount that the insurance paid for the patient, and then from there, and this is the thing where I think um, uh, technology and software can really help out is from there, what you probably did after that is you would then send out a billing statement for the patient and for the remaining amount. And so as we look at those workflows now in software and technology, as we go back and review those workflows inside of our own products, we look at it and say, well, wait a second, after we help them process the insurance check, what if we automatically sent out the billing statement or offered that as an option to say, hey, do you want to print this billing statement out as kind of the next step? And what's the next action? And so though that's just one example from a financial perspective of how we then take that process mentally that the user's going through, and we say, okay, now let's enhance the software so that it can handle and help with that workflow. And if we can automate pieces of it, then we automate pieces of it. Now a lot of it is you know higher level decision making capabilities that a human goes through to say, now I do this if only this is the case, or if this is the case. And so some of it we may not fully automate, but we try to make sure that the small, simple tasks like, yeah, hey, let's print out a billing statement, or let's send a billing statement, or yeah, let's post this check amount into here, into this field. We'll try to automate as much of that as possible so that what took the user previously 10 minutes to do, our job and what we're trying to accomplish is, can we take that 10 minutes and make it 7 minutes or make it 5 minutes? Because if we can save time there, it's additive, because you do that repetitively 5 times a day or two
Sure,
times a week or through, or whatever the
sure.
frequency is. It adds up for an office and a productive employee to be able to help them improve
And
their time spent.
Adam, I think it's important to clarify the idea of steps in a workflow or automation workflows. I know that in my life, when I've worked helping groups, practices, and DSOs get software, we talk about workflow management, or what you and I are calling software enhanced workflows, there's a fear that crops up sometimes, right? And it's about, especially with the clinical folks, right? I'm not going to have a computer tell me what steps to take or how do I do things, right? So I think it's important. I'd like to talk about the customization here a little bit of what we're talking about, because I know that especially you at Schein, it's not just about the software, but it's about the people too, right? It's about the consulting you do, right? So I'm assuming that you have these tools to develop workflows, but on the other hand, every practice group or DSO is different, right? So they're going to want to have their own workflows. So talk to me a little bit about the process, about how you have these tools available, but yet I'm sure you still consult with the group on what works, because you're mentioning, should I go to this step A or step 2 or step 3? Well, sometimes a practice might not know because they haven't had, robust workflows
Sure.
before. So I assume that you help them through this process using the tools as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, this software enhanced workflows is really evolutionary. It's really something that is helping them um, helping solve pieces at a time. It's not something that we build this complex business logic engine that takes 25 hours to set up and hone in, and then it does everything for them. We look at what are a couple of simple pieces that are common things that can be solved across a number of customers and different customer types. Those things we'll try to automate. The rest of it, we know that you customize your business processes based on what your competitive advantages are as a business. You may have a centralized billing office, and that may be one of your competitive advantages for your DSO or your group practice. And so, whereas other people may not have that. And so we try to look at it and make the small incremental improvements in the software. But then what we like to do at Henry Schein is we like to look at it as a full solution for helping you, where we come in with customer success. We have our profitability coaching team that really sits down and works with you on understanding what part of your business process we can automate through software and what part of your business process can we just improve. I was talking to a DSO that, it used to take them 10, 15 minutes to check in a patient. And through improving the software, making some adjustments in our software, making some customizations, we were able to cut that down by, a few minutes. I think it's 4 or 5 minutes. But then on top of that, we did what was called a workflow analysis, which I think that tool that we have, because we use experienced dental people who've worked with DSOs and group practices for years. And many of them themselves have worked in group practices and DSOs before working with us. And they sit down and go through, okay, what is your human process along with the software process? And what they ended up doing was cutting the human process down and improving the human process. So what took 15 minutes before, we were able to shave off 4 or 5 minutes with software. That was still, 11 minutes, 10 minutes with improvements of our workflow analysis and business process improvements. From a human perspective, we were able to put that in half. And so sometimes it's not, I love software. I'm a geek. But sometimes it's not just the software.
That's the reason we like to talk to each other, right?
People.
We're both geeks at heart, right? So
yeah. Sometimes it's the people. And that's the great thing, is that, we've worked with thousands and thousands of practices, and we see ways that we can improve the process. And so that's one of the things we offer with the workflow analysis, is how do we improve those processes?
That's really interesting. I was just thinking, the benefit you have at Schein is you have an awful lot of clients and a large database of what they've done over the years, right? So let's pick up on that idea. I'm assuming that a lot of your ideas about how to either automate workflows or build in steps and processes, I assume that you guys just analyze, right, what's worked, what hasn't worked. You have a large database. So do you have like a group that in your product group that actually looks at history of how things work, how things don't work, and you kind of, and that's, is that how you build some of these features and functionality?
Yeah, so we have in our customer success team, I think, the combined years of our customer success team in dentistry is like 300 years
Wow.
combined experience. And, what's great about that team, and they work with the product team very closely to give us feedback on things that we can improve in the product itself, or things that we can add for services that we can offer as a company, or even things that we can do from a manual process perspective to document. But um, what they do, and I've seen this happen, I've been on a number of these experiences, is they really first and foremost focus on what are your goals as an organization. So it's not just Henry Schein coming in and saying you should do it this way. um, we come in and first focus on, okay, how's your business run? What are your goals? What is your unique value proposition as a group practice or a DSO? Because you say, I think the phrase in the industry is, if you've seen one DSO, you've only seen one DSO. And I think that's kind of true, but the reason it's true is not because each DSO is trying to make things complex. I think it's because each DSO is trying to bring a unique value proposition to why they exist and why they are what they are. And so what we do is we look at that unique value proposition and say, okay, based on that, if your unique value proposition is to be centralize your operations and let your individual locations focus more on patient care, that's the value proposition. Then we look at that and say, okay, based on that, here's the business processes that we have seen be successful with organizations that are similar to yours. And we're able to go in with those business processes and say, okay, what took you 25 steps before, now we can look at and cut that down to 10 steps or cut that down to 8 steps, with both technology improvements as well as just human process improvements. And that's something that we have seen a number of our customers really benefit from that
I think that's
experience.
a really good point, because in my many years of working with software companies, for software companies, I've seen so many companies that look at software as almost like a shrink wrap package, right? Here's our software, you can customize a little bit, but really, the most important thing is what you're talking about is, and I, for all my years in software, I've tried to encourage my clients to look at software as a tool for their businesses, instead of software being this thing that does things, right? It's a tool, and you have an arsenal of tools. And but the software company should be your partner, right? In saying, okay, we have these tools, that's great, but we're going to work with you on how to use them. So I think that approach is great. One of the things I wanted to ask you about is, we have a lot of viewers out there for our podcast, DSOs, multi-location groups, and individual practices, right? And so when we talk about software enhanced workflows, right? Um, I was wondering if you can give me just, I know you gave me one example of DSO, but if you can give me one or two examples of what would specifically a DSO might like in a quote software enhanced workflow. And then I'm sure there's a lot of solo and small practices out there that say, you know what, this stuff seems like it's good for complex organizations, but I just have a solo practice. What do I need software enhanced workflows for? So after you talk about the DSO multi-location use of these workflows, talk to me a little bit about how just a solo practice could use what we're talking about.
Yeah, a really good example of this is the enhanced workflow of scheduling, because I think this works for DSOs, group practices, and solo practices. I think a lot of organizations feel like they have a unique way of scheduling, and they may have a unique way of scheduling, the way they do new patients or emergencies, or the way they do complex cases, or the way they handle um, even just a regular day-to-day work of trying to get patients to come back for their recare. They may have what they view as a unique schedule, but I think one thing, and it's interesting that as we're talking right now, times have shifted and changed significantly in the world around us, and I think this is a perfect example. with scheduling, what we're seeing more and more is patients want more control over when and where and how they schedule. And I think dental organizations are trying to respond to that and trying to figure out what is it that I need to do from a software process, software enhanced workflow to help accomplish what my patients are wanting. And at Henry Schein One, we've seen this coming. We've actually had this concept we call of online booking around for a number of years. And we've even made that more enhanced and more improved even more recently. And I think that's one of those things that's applicable whether you're small, single location practice, or whether you're a large DSO. And that is, okay, now let's take your secret sauce for scheduling and try to build that into a software enhanced workflow for your patients to be able to do what they want to do, which is they want to be able to schedule anytime, anywhere, and in the method they want to. And so the software enhanced workflow for us is introducing online scheduling into our different practice management systems so that you can set up the templates and still have control over the schedule and not just lose control and make it so that you open up everything for your patients to schedule, but really focus on, okay, what is your patient or potential patient coming in for? What are they trying to be seen for? And then based on that, let's find what you believe are the best times in your schedule to do that. And then let's let your patient choose a time. And then let's let that appointment be scheduled and be able to be verified by other business processes or other software enhanced workflows like appointment confirmation emails and text messages, or whatever your business process may be. Some of them, I know a number of dental offices like to give a confirmation call to appointments that have been scheduled online. So, but that's one workflow, Mike, that I think, a lot of offices get really nervous about that.
It's okay. Do we give up our entire schedule to our patients to schedule online, or is there a way that we can be a little bit more selective? And that's where we've actually provided options to say, let's let you keep some of your business processes, but let's enhance that by allowing your patients to schedule their appointment online.
Right. I think that's really important. As you just pointed out, we are going into more of a consumer demanding world. And it's funny, when I was years ago, when I was working in the medical industry, medical EHRs, medical software, the idea of online appointments came up years ago, actually, in medicine, and people were freaking out. They were like, my gosh, and I can't have these people. But then again, now it's interesting, you talk about the customer preferences, right? And that's so important because in this world, right, Google has your preferences, right? Facebook has your preferences, right? Why shouldn't dental software have your preferences as a customer, and then they can base their decisions on your preferences? So I assume that you guys are getting more robust at really understanding your customers to help, the patients of your customers, so then your customers can make more decisions, better decisions, right, about how do I do appointment, right? Because if you have a profile of customer, it's just better overall, correct?
Right. Oh, absolutely. And you see things are ever changing and evolving. I mean, now with teledentistry coming in, now you've got a patient who can schedule an appointment online, choose that they just want to come a consult. And so that changes it so that you don't have to actually spend money on PPE and have a patient come into the office and go through that check-in process, all for just a consult. But you can switch your consults to teledentistry, you can switch your follow-ups to teledentistry, you can switch your initial visits to teledentistry, all through just thinking about how I set up my schedule and set up my appointment book and set up my online booking all together, because they could really orchestrate each other really well. And that's what we're trying to do. The name Henry Schein One, we use the one deliberately because we're trying to come with a solution set, one solution set, and one business partner that can help you meet your needs on those solution sets. Now, again, we're not trying to say that we'll have everything perfect and everything well, but what we're saying is that's what we're trying to accomplish, is so that you can come to us and say, I'm looking to do patient scheduling online, and I want to incorporate teledentistry into my practice management and these clinical tools, all of this together. And we say, great, we've got solutions that we've integrated with each other that can meet your needs.
Right. And the important thing, Adam, uh, not getting too much in the weeds here, I don't want to talk about technical terms, but when we talk about partnering, the idea you're talking about Henry Schein One, which is you guys can't develop every application in the world, right? So you have to partner, but yet there'll always be a better mousetrap. There might be a patient education solution that you use today. 2 years from now, there might be a better one at a different company. The key really is, again, right, for companies like yourself at Henry Schein One and others to build technology that will allow the integration, right? Because there's always going to be different apps. You're not going to have the same app now in your application that you might have 3 years from now. You're going to switch. So the technology, the underlying technology itself is really important. So I'm glad we're talking about that. I'd like to kind of close a little bit. I know that you have been involved with a lot of customer training in the past, right? When I think about, from my experience with clients I've had both in medicine and dentistry over the years, I know that a lot of times there's concern with new people, new doctors coming in, new staff coming in, right? They have to use the software. And so from a training standpoint, talk to me a little bit about how powerful the ability to set customized workflows up so really people can hit the ground running, right? When they come into a group or practice or DSO.
Yeah, so I actually, as we've talked in the past, I actually used to work in our training department here at Henry Schein One and had a number of opportunities to train um, dental offices, and it was a great opportunity. I learned a lot. I think there's a lot of new training techniques and opportunities for um, customers when they get either new employees in or they're introducing new products or services. I mentioned the workflow analysis already, and that's not just for doing an overall, I want to change all of my business processes. It could be something very simple like, hey, I want to improve my accounts receivable management, or I want to improve my revenue cycle management, my both patient AR and insurance AR. I want to improve both of those. Then we can do workflow analysis. But we also have a lot of programs available through Henry Schein One to help you learn. We have online training that is self-paced that you can go through. We even have a certificate program where you can earn a certification that says that I know the Henry Schein One products and services and understand them. We also
Do they
have
get a special T-shirt when they pass that? People like that, right?
they get a certificate. They get a
Okay.
certificate that they can print out.
Okay.
So, but and the other thing that we have a practice education group who does a fantastic job making sure that anytime we add or enhance or make any changes to features to help people, that they talk through. And these people have experience in dental offices. They know what the workflows are there, and so they try to emphasize, we've introduced this new feature, this new thing to help this process specifically. And so we've got video tutorials and walkthroughs. And at the end of the day, we also have one-on-one training still. And we can do it virtually. We can also do, based on the needs of the organization, we can do in-person training as well. Because that's, for us, we realize people learn differently. And so we want to be able to meet the needs of the different learners and the modalities of those learners in order for them to get the comprehension they need. Because if you can understand it and you can get the both pieces, the software and how the software works, but also the business process and what you're trying to accomplish, then you become more enabled as a team member to do your best for the practice.
Right. It's interesting. I was just thinking about as you were talking, in a lot of the groups practices, DSOs, and that I've helped in the past get software. When I get into the implementation and training portion, many times, I'll hear from my clients, 2, 3, 4 weeks, 2 months later, like, it's not really going that well. And when I look at it closely, I say, okay, let's get everybody together. Let's get the vendor together with your project manager. It turns out that there's just a disconnect on the consultative training and implementation part. And once they got together and really started working together on what you're talking about, right, which is that consultative approach after getting the software, then things to come in line. So I'm really glad you're bringing that part of it up. So again, I really enjoy your time. This idea about software enhanced workflows, that's just going to continue, as you pointed out in our discussions, and just get more sophisticated. And I'm looking forward again to talking to you further about some of the exciting things that you're doing in your product groups at Henry Schein. So again, thanks for joining me on my podcast.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it.